Welcome back to Due Diligence. Welcome back to the pod. Of course, as you guys know, Aidan Grazia here with co-host Justin Moran, and today we have a great guest joining us. Thank you so much. Right here we got Alex Rep, the short-term rental king.
Let's go.
Alex Rep, how are you doing today?
It's a beautiful Saturday. Happy to be here. Yeah, I'm just so excited. Thank you so much for having me. I
Absolutely. Thank
love
you for
talking
joining.
about, short-term rentals and building wealth through real estate. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun
Absolutely.
podcast.
And I think that is a perfect segue into the first topic. How did you get into real estate? Because I know that you weren't always in real estate, but you kind of made a life-changing career switch. And how did that take place?
So, this is a great question. Um, and everyone does have a backstory. So, um, I want to go a little bit off script here for a second. So,
I love it.
um, originally I was from Chicago, but I moved to Kansas City. And when I was moving, I was taking a new job. I knew that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, and I knew I wanted to invest in real estate because I had read the Purple Bible. Maybe you've heard of it, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a
Purple
small,
Bible. Wow,
small,
that's
contribution to financial, literacy and something like that. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. Um, all jokes
We do
aside, I
have a
think
funny
that's the
story about that
single.
book.
I think that book has influenced more entrepreneurs and real estate investors than any other book. So,
I would agree.
rightfully described the Purple Bible, I think. And so I read that book, I caught the bug, and I ran out of money in Chicago, so I needed to get a job. My options were stay in Chicago, Minnesota, or Kansas City. And I didn't want to stay in Chicago anymore. My parents were not the most supportive. They weren't the least supportive, but like it was just time to move on. So that narrowed it down to Minnesota in Kansas City, and I didn't want to freeze my butt off, so I chose I chose Kansas City. There was only one problem. I didn't know anyone out there, and I didn't know anything about real estate investing, so I had the means to buy a house, but I decided that I needed to learn a little bit more. So that came down to getting an apartment, but I really just didn't like the idea of getting an apartment. I feel like I would have just created my own bubble. I would have been alone, and I knew I needed to get out there and meet people. So one of my friends at the time was like, "Well, why don't you rent a room?" I was like, "Well, that's interesting. Rent a room. I know I'll have roommates, and I know I'll meet at least someone who is renting the rooms." And I was like, "Well, if that person who is renting the rooms, he's already a real estate investor. So instead of picking a location close to my job, like most people do, my residential search of where I was going to live became um, focused on whether or not my landlord was going to be a partner in my future business or not. So
You were
I
thinking
started
strategically.
interviewing my landlords. I was like, "Hey, how many properties do you have? Hey, do you want to do any more of these?" And like, age mattered to me. So I found a guy. He was 26 at the time. I think I was like
How old were you?
27.
You were
Yeah, go
27.
ahead. Yeah.
You were
So
27 at that time?
I was 27 at the time.
Awesome.
And he was like, when I was showing me the house, he was kind of like bragging a little bit about like, this is how I set it up for myself, and I was just eating it up. So I was like, even though it was 40 minutes away from my work, I didn't care. This is where I was going to be, and I signed the lease. And little did he know I was going to be selling him on becoming my business partner, and he could not
Let's
escape
go.
at that point.
Let's go.
So it didn't end there. So I heard about these road signs, the bandit signs, and that they actually work. So I decided to go on a limb. I spent $2,000 going. I went to like basically a factory, and they gave me these huge yellow like bandit signs. Like, but they're huge. You had to cut them up and things like that. So my landlord had like a bunch of tools. He was like a maintenance kind of guy, and he had like a table saw. So we decided to buy these big ones, and we table sawed them up into like we had 4,000 bandit signs. So we were like getting at 50 cents a sign or something like that. So, and with a big Sharpie marker, I wrote, "Real estate investor seeks student, unlimited income potential," and then my phone number. And I would carpet bomb Kansas City at 2 a.m. Once a week. And I think it's important to tell the story because I was renting a room at the time. I didn't have any real estate, but I wrote it anyways. Screw it. And eventually this guy, he's now my real business. Well, I mean, Eric, the landlord, he still was a business partner in some capacity, but, he's since gone a different direction. Austin, to this day, was an engineer who called my road sign. And I just love this story because it's so funny. And he still is my business partner. So he had apparently driven past my sign on his way to work, Honeywell. He worked as an engineer. He worked on like nuclear bombs or something. It's crazy. So,
Wow.
and once again, the sign said, "Real estate investor seeks student, unlimited income potential." My phone number. He drove it a couple times. The third time, his wife's in the car. He's like, "Hey, did you see that sign?" He's like, "Yeah, I keep driving by it. Like, someone keeps putting it up." He's like, "Well, why haven't you called it yet?" He's like, all you talk about is investing in real estate." He's like, yeah, you're right. So he calls the number. I'm on the other end of the line. Austin said, "Hey," or I answer like, "Hello, this is Alex," and Austin's like, "Hey, I saw this sign. It says that you're a real estate investor and you're seeking a student, unlimited income potential." And I'm like, I had to think about it for a second, and I was like, I'm a real estate investor, right?
You're like, whoa, I didn't plan
So
this.
I had to think about it. He's like, yeah, that was my sign. Would you like to come see one of the properties? Is what I thought of saying. Would you like to come see one of the properties? So, and he's like, yeah, I would love to come see one of the properties. It's like, okay, when would you like to come see it? I'm free on Wednesday. It's like, yeah, Wednesday sounds good. So I'm like, okay. All right, now I got to go find a property. So I go back to Eric, my landlord. I said, "Eric, I got this real estate investor. He wants to come see your house. He's thinking that he might want to partner with us someday on the next one. Would you be willing to give a tour of your house?" And he's like, "Absolutely, let's do it." So I invite Austin over. Austin shows up. I'm sitting next to Eric. Now, no longer a tenant. I'm a business partner. Eric, my landlord, proceeds to give this tour of his house, and he's going past my room. That this is where tenant A pays like $500 a month. Gives the whole tour, and I just sit there like I could have had popcorn, And yeah, and at the end of it, I was like, "Hey, Austin, so what do you think?" He's like, "Oh yeah, this is genius. You're getting so much rent by dividing up the rooms, and like this is I don't know why other people don't do this." Austin was our age or two. He's like, "Yeah, I want to do one of these." So I'm feeling pretty good about myself now. So I say, "Well, would you like to come by the office sometime?" Did I have an office? No, I didn't have an office. So I was like, all right. Well, real estate brokerages, those agents have offices. All right. So I schedule a date and time. I call up a real estate brokerage and I say, "Hey, I'm going to bring some of my investors over. Can we use some of your space?" What do you think the real estate brokerage said?
Absolutely.
"Of course, get this man some coffee. We'll be there at 2:00. So they roll out the red carpet for us, and I say, "Hey, I just need to use one of your back rooms. Show up a little early." And I give a presentation on the room rentals concept, and totally hooked. Our neighbor's house, like a few months later, caught fire, ironically. And we were able to find that owner, put in an offer, and Austin became our financier on that property. He gave us $50,000.
Wow.
So that was my first deal.
And then,
Fake it till you make it,
What
huh?
it sounds like is
I was just about to say.
you, Justin, you got it?
Borderline con artist? No, I'm kidding. It totally worked out. Everyone got what they wanted. Like, yeah, confidence.
It's really incredible. You were the definition of building the bridge as you were crossing. That's so crazy. The going from the billboards, then saying, "Oh, come see the property," then, "Oh, come see the office." That's a
Oh, all
hilarious
right. I
story.
gotta think about this for a second. Yeah, would you like to come see the property? Yeah. It's we
That's
get
so
so
funny.
caught up in our own worlds. Fear just prevents us from moving forward. Um, and all I did was put out some signs and invite people to where they want to go. So, um, and at that point, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any experience. I was making up as I go. I didn't have any real estate transactions under my belt.
And that's the
When you talk
mentality I
about
feel
the
like
fear
most people
paralysis,
need to have when it comes to when it comes to any entrepreneurial endeavor, real estate, finance, e-commerce, whatever it is. People are so calculated that before I start, it has to be perfect. I have to know A, B, all A through Z of what I need to do. Where it's like, okay, just start like you did. You just started and you said fake it till you make it. You were a genuine person getting into real estate, a actual real estate investor. Did you have the office? Maybe not. Did you have your own properties to
You
yourself?
can
Maybe
borrow
not.
one.
Exactly. Borrow someone else's, right? And it's that calculated approach that causes so many people just to not move at all. And it's like, what is it? What's going to go further? Starting, messing up, and failing your way forward, or being so calculated where you're not going to move at all, right? And so your story, Alex, is awesome. Just to inspire those right now who are listening, who are just like, man, gosh, I gotta know every single dotted T cross or a dotted I cross T, et cetera, before moving forward. It's like, no, it wasn't meant to be that way. Go ask any entrepreneur. I'm sure the real estate investors that you look up to all also started with some crazy startup story, had nothing going for them. Then boom, just little by little, faith after faith. Now they have a massive portfolio, cash flow, and God knows how much money in a given
you
month.
talk about analysis paralysis, and it's just like it is so real. And it's I find myself in it sometimes where I'm really trying to look at a deal, whether it's a multi-unit property. Alex, since the last time we talked, I've come across a couple properties. I was looking in Illinois actually. I'm looking at a 6-unit and a duplex, and I find myself
I have properties in Illinois.
often. You like them or you don't like them?
I like them.
Oh, I got the green flag. Let's go. No, I'll talk to you about them
You
afterwards.
got to stay away from Crook County, though.
Kirk County. Which one's that?
Crook County. It's short for,
Crook County.
or it's a nickname for Cook County. That's Chicago.
Oh, makes sense. I was looking in Rock Island.
Okay.
So now we're talking geography. You moved to Kansas City, and I know you are a Chiefs fan, correct?
I mean, you can't not be yet. Let's be honest.
Alright,
I
so
know
I
I'll
guess I have
probably
a
lose
question.
some
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 fans.
fans from
You have
that, but
you have some bad blood. Ha ha ha. Get it? Taylor Swift. What are your
you
thoughts on Taylor
can't
Swift?
help being the champ. Sorry.
Hey, I'm a Pats fan, so
You know
I'm
how
with you.
you know how it feels. Like it's
I know
just
exactly how it feels.
yeah, it's just their time.
Hate us because they ain't us. Exactly.
Bro lives in
Exactly.
New Jersey and is a Pats fan. Makes no sense, but
All
continue.
right, my parents have a lake house up in New Hampshire. It's okay. It's okay.
Fair.
So, Alex, so
Bandwagon
you
fan.
went from renting rooms, really being on your toes in this real estate industry, and I know that I have come to meet you through Renatus. So, how did you get originally involved in Renatus, and how did you come into short-term rentals as your domain?
So Renatus has a location out in Illinois before I moved to Kansas City. It's one of the largest offices. It's 3030. And when I was going there, I was really spoiled because there was like 600 people going there every week. It was insane. And to this day, I haven't seen a meetup quite like it.
This was
So
pre-COVID, correct?
this was pre-COVID, correct?
Mm.
COVID has been difficult for a lot of meetups and face-to-face organizations such as Renatus. So, honestly, the weekly average now in that location is probably like 30 to 40. So it's like less than 1/10 of what I was used to. It was amazing. Like to this day, I've never seen a meetup even come close. You have annual meetups that meet once a year that do 200, 300.
Were you at the Renatus Nashville convention?
Not this year.
Neither was I.
I have gone
Very
every
chill.
year except for this year. This year we've made the conscious decision to focus on the short-term rental business, and that's not anything against the Renatus opportunity, because if I'm being completely honest, without that opportunity, I don't think I would have accelerated to my level, because what I didn't state, with Austin, for example, is that he also bought some Renatus courses as well, and I received a commission off that, which helped, absolutely, and it gets people on the same page. But I met Renatus through the Downers Grove group, 3030, because after I read the Purple Bible, one of the advice that they give, I think it's on the second book, they said, well, if you're interested in something, you should go take a class on it. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So I went to the group, and it didn't take long at all. I came down on a Thursday, came back the next day on a Friday, and I had decided, because they had weekly study groups and I was going to make this a career, I was all in at that point. I didn't waste any time. I bought the top package at the time. That was a $20,000 investment, and I was all in. So, and nobody told me it took 6 months to go through the intro classes, what was called the essentials. So I did it in, I think a week is what I did it, or maybe 10 days. I can't remember.
You were
So
locked
nobody
in.
told me
Oh
it took
my
6
goodness.
months, so I
in.
just did it, super fast. And
Definitely
you know,
cranking Red Bulls.
it wasn't that difficult. Like I was just doing like 1.5 a day, and taking notes. I didn't have a job at the time, so that helped. But even if I did have a job, I would have figured it out. It kind of goes with when Renatus came out with the short-term rental classes in 2019. They came out May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So we watched them live from, because you could do that. You can watch them live from your living room, or you could go to Utah, where they record it. So I watched, at the time it was Jay Massey, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We have a better instructor now. His name is Randall. I'm
Randall's
actually
the
really good
best.
friends with Randall. He and I talk all
Randall's
the time.
the best.
So
We need to get him on the podcast too.
he's open to it, absolutely.
Incredible.
But anyways, so I watched. It was a 3-day course, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. By May 5th, we had our first 2 short-term rentals. So just 2 days later, it is. People have this.
When you said we, who is we? It's you.
Well,
and
at that time, we had some. I had a community in Kansas City that I had started. Yeah. It's gotten smaller because of COVID, but before COVID, 2019, things are popping off. So, there was I want to give credit to Eric, which was my former landlord, and then also we had this guy, Randy Leffridge. What had happened? They went to a meetup. I actually wasn't there, and they found this landlord that came in from California because her property manager couldn't rent out her fourplex in Hyde Park, Kansas City, and you don't need to know where that is. The title suggested it was an affluent area. So we decided to solve her problem just by leasing it, because at the time lease arbitrage was super popular and it was working. The margins worked. I wouldn't recommend lease arbitrage right now.
The prime
very
time
careful.
of lease arbitrage.
A lot of short-term rental professionals got into that, and back in 2019, you didn't have to be good. You just need to be present. So you sign a lease and then you're making money. And when I say that, I mean that literally. 2021, just a couple of years later, I have more leases. And there's this guy from Guam. He owns a surgery practice. Liked the Star Wars theme in one of my units. This was a unit that it was a studio. I was paying $900 a month, and he paid 60 days straight. He paid $10,000, so I got $5,000 a month on this. It was
Jeez.
printing money, so you just don't see those margins anymore. I think after all expenses, I was doing like 3,500 on that one unit, and we had about 15 of those at the time. So
And it was Star Wars themed. What was the best Star Wars product in that unit?
I like the Darth Vader toaster personally. So
Dude, is it the one that like toasts the Darth Vader onto the bread?
yes,
That's
oh,
awesome.
that's awesome.
it was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. The toaster itself looks like the Darth Vader helmet, and yeah, and it toasts it right on the bread. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I like our Marvel theme unit. If I'm being completely honest, better than our Star Wars theme unit. Like we got the
Marbles
Tesseract
and, like,
in
the
there.
little
It's a
marbles?
square light Tesseract. We got the cat that like eats people, in there. It's pretty cool. And
Alex,
we
I thought you
found
said
this like
marbles, and I was like, "That's your favorite unit's the marble one." Like,
no,
where
no.
you just got marbles everywhere.
Yeah,
The
right.
marble one. I
Yeah,
get it.
Marvel, like
Captain America, Iron Man.
like Endgame, Thor,
That's sweet.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
It's actually a
That's
well themed unit. So but we've stopped doing arbitrage for about 2 years, and we switched over to the management slash co-hosting model, and we're up to quite a few units. Let me think here. I think we're getting close to 70. I don't think we're quite there yet. Short-term rentals, but then we have another 110 student rooms. It's a student housing building, and there's 110 rooms in there. So if you include those, we're up to like 180 or something, 175.
like university
So
student. What school?
so KU Med had these buildings, and they were selling them off. Some private investor bought it probably around 2019, but he wasn't accounting for COVID. So when COVID happened, a lot of these students went online, and they went back to their home countries. So um, this building had a lot of vacancy, and it ended up in foreclosure. So more recently, last year, I was connected to the owner, and he's a distressed seller too. So he hired me for management because I told him that I was seeing success renting the rooms. Still have that first property to this day. We're getting $1,000 a room per month. So his building isn't up to that level, but since managing it, we've been consistently getting $700 to $900 a room, which is impressive because we haven't really improved the experience at all. That's just the base. And I am fully confident that we can get that rental rate up to $1,200 a room, which is comparable to like a studio unit. So, but it's with this shared housing concept. With a little bit of luck, some of my partners and I will be closing on that building before it goes into foreclosure. We have the lender. We've raised $2 million for it, and we hope to buy it. So,
So you're going from a management position to an ownership position if it all works out.
Well,
Incredible.
I know how to raise some money, and I have all the numbers, and this was part of the deal from the onset. Like this guy didn't want me to just manage his building; he wanted me to help sell it. And part of the deal was like, hey, we just got to see what the potential is here first. So he invited me in to get these rented, which I've performed and helped him with, because with the rent rolls, you can help sell the building because it was totally vacant at the time. So
all 90 to 100 units were vacant.
All 110 units were vacant. So when I came in, there was 0 occupied. I don't know why, but that was the case. Now we have about 30 of them occupied, and we would have more, but the owner's not willing to put in any more money. So, and
So
we
what
did
I'm
that 30
hearing-
more as like a proof of concept. when
Yeah.
we've succeeded. So,
if anyone needs a managing company, it sounds like Alex is the one to go to. That's what I'm getting out of this.
so,
That's incredible.
Because management, it's a business, and
Mhm.
I make a little bit of money off of it, enough for me to live, without having to go get another job. But there's not enough there, in my opinion, to really get rich. There's this guy named Ed Kirch out of Chicago from Renatus, one of my mentors. He's instilled in me, early on that, the real wealth building tools are owning the real estate. So I've used my management company to help me get into real estate. And this is a perfect example. So we get the numbers. We don't have any financial risk, or very little, I should say. Getting these rented, now we have all the data, and we can build a partnership around it. So that's exactly what happened. I think we're buying this at $7 million. It's basically what the guy owes, and we believe that it'll be worth $11 million in 2 to 3 years. So,
And are you planning to buy and hold, or are you planning to fix and flip?
we'll probably refinance this one once we force the appreciation, and I'm okay with it. Ed would be screaming right now. He's like, "Don't refinance, just pay it off." But this one we're probably going to. All my other real estate,
Why does Ed say not to refinance it, especially if you're getting the value add?
I would say he's a little bit more old school. This is a man. He's been in real estate for 45 years. He's been in some of the most, dramatic crashes.
Yeah.
And he's watched people with 100 houses lose everything. So he has learned from that, and he had to rebuild from 2008. And he will not refinance his multifamily. He's got 300 doors now, and he puts everything on 20-year notes, which is overkill. So if you put a multifamily on a 20-year note opposed to 25 and 30, you're basically not going to cash flow for 5-7 years. You're going to build a ton of equity, but he's done that on every single one of his properties, and he is paying down principal at the rate of, I don't know, anywhere between 30 and 50K a month, because almost all of his properties are paid off now. And his argument is that if you need more money, just raise more money. You don't need to refinance that. That's his argument. Just go raise more money. Leave it in there, because then if something happens, you won't ever get foreclosed on. And you'll all be happier once the property is paid off. On this building, I haven't had this kind of windfall yet, so I'm okay. I'm probably going to be a 10% owner, based on my contributions. So other people have to get something. And the powers to be have decided that they want to put a refinance strategy in there, and I'm okay with getting paid 500 grand, so it's okay.
Again,
Totally fine with it.
Totally fine with that. So, what I will do with that is put it in a bank, and I won't use it to buy real estate because I can raise money, but I'll use it for, like, just in case, kind of oops money. Eventually, slowly move it over to maybe a life insurance policy.
Bingo.
Hey, if
There you
you
go.
want to bring it over to a life insurance policy, we got a life insurance agent right here. That's what he does.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
I've met a few of those in my time, but
I literally have I was just talking to someone in my office today. He has a real estate investor who wants to put in like 125 grand a year, because instead of leveraging cash from like a debt fund or a checking account that's getting almost no interest on that money, he's like, hey, I want to fund this life insurance policy to access cash when I'm alive, purchase properties, and while that money is building equity in those homes, it's still going to be accumulating interest in the policy, even though he already used it. It's going to act like it was never touched, right? So now he's building interest on two different areas from one lump sum of money. And so on the macro level, of course, when a real estate investor has that kind of money, boom, it makes sense, right? And of course,
Absolutely.
people, I mean, the average individual, of course, can do it, but at a much smaller scale. But of course, if as you are a real estate investor, it's just adding one more infinity stone to the to the glove of just extra interest that's coming in.
That's a great way to
For
put it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's my second favorite investment, life insurance policies. So,
What
um,
would you say your first one would be? Real estate.
real estate,
There you
yeah.
go. All right,
What
And
feels
that
it's
like
makes sense.
what
and
feels
it's
like
because
comic books.
I own a management company, so I could double dip there, right? Properties that I
Mm,
own that I also manage.
mm-hmm.
So, hmm
So in your setup, are you running your properties that you own through an LLC and then managing them through a different business LLC? So
Mm-hmm.
it's did you get
so since you reference Renatus, I'll bring up one of Mark Kohler's classes. Now, I've heard that they're he is stepping away from his legal and CPA practice to focus on family now. So I heard that he might not be an instructor very much longer. But he does such a great job of explaining, the active and the passive side of your life. So these investments would be considered passive assets, and my business is considered active income. So they can't be in the same entity unless,
Yep,
I mean, otherwise you're inviting problems basically. So
definitely. Yeah. Wow, that's
absolutely.
crazy news to hear that Mark Kohler stepping
Um,
away, but that was the first class I watched. Taxing the
that
Good
was a
Day 1 and
rumor.
Day
I don't
2.
think it's confirmed, but I heard he wasn't at nationals, and that was the reason why. Um, but obviously, like, I am not,
Didn't he just get married?
Bob
He
Snyder or
just got
anything like
remarried.
that. This is just
Hmm.
unconfirmed rumor.
Mm. Now, Alex,
So please don't.
for for someone kind of was similar to your position early on, or just in general, let's say someone has W-2 income, or they just have a completely different source of income that's not in real estate investing. What would your first steps kind of be to get the ball rolling when it comes to short-term rental portfolios?
That's a good question. So um, when I got in, I did the arbitrage strategy. That was an easy way in, but I wouldn't recommend that anymore. Um, I would recommend doing the house hack strategy if you don't own your own home yet. When I got started at 26, 27, um, and I was in the military too, so I could use my VA loan. But even if you're not in the military, you're looking at only 1 to 3% down. So um, what you learn throughout your real estate career is that multiple exit strategies are the most important thing that you can have before you get into a real estate transaction. And what I mean by that is that, like, um, you have to have you have to be able to sell it. You have to be able to go the long-term rental route in addition to the short-term rental route. If you are totally reliant on one strategy, let's say that's short-term rentals, and that strategy doesn't work, then it's inevitable that you will lose money because there is so much that can happen in the short-term side. Like, your city can decide tomorrow that it's no longer legal.
Hmm.
So if you don't have an alternate exit strategy, like, you're going to lose money. It's 100% going to happen. And that has been the problem with arbitrage because you can't rent it long term because that's what your landlord is doing for you. Like, the margins aren't there. Um, a lot of people are like, well, what about midterm? Well, if all the short term rentals all of a sudden became illegal, what do you think they're all going to do? They're all going to go midterm, right? And then they're going to realize there's too many of them, and then they're going to, take losses. So midterm is it's a joke. so, um, so that's the problem with midterm. Um, and you can't sell a rental unit if it's not cash flowing. Now, there have been people in 2019 to 2020, they would wholesale leases. So you can sell a lease. Like, you set up the short-term rental and then you can sell it to someone. Here's a cash flowing lease arbitrage unit. And that's like the same as selling a business. Businesses are bought and sold off cash flow. But if your business is not cash flowing, you can't sell it either. So that's the problem with arbitrage. Only one exit. But if you buy the property, you can rent it out long term. You can rent it out midterm because you can be price competitive there. You can live in it yourself if it doesn't work. You can rent it out by the room. You can sell it if it doesn't work. There's multiple exits. So that's where we need to start. If you have a job, you can use FHA financing to get your first one. Claim it as your primary residence, okay? Pick up the mail there. You're not defrauding the government by doing that. This will become your primary residence if it doesn't work out to you. If you're renting right now, move in it if you can. It doesn't have to be a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. You just get a house with 5 bedrooms, rent out the rooms like I did. Live, rent, and mortgage free. That's your big ROI. You don't even need to cash flow. If you don't have to pay your mortgage anymore, or you get $500 towards your mortgage, that's in itself an ROI. You cannot lose under that circumstance. It's a guaranteed win, easy to do. If you can't afford the down payment, save up, borrow some money, find a partner, make it happen. I know these guys in what's it called, Michigan by Detroit. There was 6 guys that partnered on one house. I think it was like a $100K house because they were so poor, but they made it happen. Here's an interesting statistic: those who rent versus those who own their own home. The people that own their own home are on average 47 times more wealthy. 47 times.
Wow.
That's not a small number. So, like, the first thing you got to do is go from renting to owning. If you don't have a plan for some business or you're just unsure what to do, go from renting to owning as fast as possible.
You heard it here. If there was one piece of advice, is that it? Go from renting to owning as fast as possible.
As fast as possible. As fast as possible. You cannot screw that up.
Hacking, you say house hacking and renting out these rooms. I guess the hesitation in my brain when doing that is just the logistics. Does one person get the kitchen, or are you all sharing the kitchen?
You're all sharing the kitchen.
All sharing the kitchen.
Now, unless you have like a duplex and you have 2 different units, that would still be considered a house hack. The word house hack, the word hack comes from like, this is a life hack. So you can life hack your way into a free house because you're buying it with FHA financing from the government. That's government financing, and your tenants are paying for it. That's why it's called the house hack.
Now, do you have to
you're
live
saying
there?
not live in there.
If you have nowhere else to live, move in. Move in, okay? Like, there's no sense for you paying for an apartment and then and then not moving into your house. That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So now, if you have a family and that is impossible, then don't move in, right? So that's why I say if you can, move in. At the time, I was single guy. I moved in. I managed those tenants, So I made it happen.
They knew you were the owner?
Some of them eventually found out. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. I don't
any
advertise
really
it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because when they know you're the owner, so come the requests. But I've always had a
knocking on
thick
your door
skin,
at
and
2
I have
a.m.
no problem saying no. So deal with it. You can move out anytime, right? I'm not keeping you here. I get it. It's a room. It's temporary. I have a guy right now, just like that,
And are you saying Are you saying if you can live there, because if you have to live somewhere else, now you're picking or taking on a new mortgage that is no longer washing that payment for you?
Right. So, because the easiest ROI to get from the house hack is just to not pay rent. Or right, not pay rent. So if you're paying $1,000 rent or $1,000 mortgage, but you move over here and you're no longer paying that $1,000, who cares if you cash flow? Who cares?
You're living for free and you're
living for free. Like everyone, those renters, they have to pay rent on top of everything else that you have to buy, groceries, tariffs, whatever. I said it. Everything else, everyone else to buy plus rent. If you can just eliminate the rent, you are so much. I think there was a statistic recently. We can look at some ChatGPT real quick. I want to say the average household expense by total gross income that the average person in the United States per capita pays out, I think it's like 35%. So
Whoa.
if your expense was reduced by 35% per month, what are you going to do with that 35%? You could do anything with it. You could
A lot.
put it towards the next property, and this is how the snowball starts. Okay, my short-term rental career didn't start with me getting short-term rentals. It started with a house hack.
Now I've been attracted to duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes as I'm looking to acquire a first property, right? But Aidan and I both just graduated college, right? We don't have the 2-year income statement on our resumes. Does that mean, one, we directly need to go to private investors before qualifying for like an FHA loan?
No,
No, it does
you
not.
don't need to. You don't need to. Now, I'm assuming you are in a sales-related position, more 1099 ambition. You need the 2 years. In that case, you're gonna have to put more down, but you can go a DSCR loan, and that takes, that gives you a loan based on the potential income of the property.
And
It's
for those
not.
that don't know, DSCR is debt service coverage ratio, correct?
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit less on your personal credit. In fact, I don't think they even consider that. They're looking at the property and what it can produce in revenue versus how much the loan would be. So now you're looking at a down payment of probably like 20% in that case. But okay, borrow money for the down payment, right? Go get a private investor for the down payment. The good news is it's like you don't have to burn one of your freebie FHA loans.
How many FHA loans can you get?
I think you can get one, but I think one at a time.
Oh.
So you would refinance. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
I've heard there's like a 3-year buffer, but I could be wrong. I'm not the expert in
I
that.
don't know a whole lot about FHA because I'll never end up using them because I got something better. I got the VA loan.
the VA loan.
Now I know I can get two. Actually, technically, I can get 3 of those puppies. The rule is you get 2, or you're capped at 500K. So technically, you can get 3 if you do 100, 100, 200 properties. But most cases, you're gonna cap out at 2. And the other cool thing about VA loans is that you can actually get a 5 unit out of it. It's 4 residential, 1 commercial. It's a weird rule, but you can actually get a 5 unit out of a VA loan. The VA loan is superior to FHA because it's 0% down. I think they go up to like 101% loan to value. So they give you a little bit more to cover. And there's no PMI either with the VA loan.
Now, throwing case studies at you, let's say someone has a business partner, a spouse, or just, I guess, anyone they want to acquire a property with, and let's say one is a business owner, so it's all 1099, right? And then one does have an income, right? W-2, right? Would it be something where it would be advantageous? Maybe they use the W-2 income to qualify for the FHA, and then maybe don't even need to go to a private
Yes,
investor.
I think the bank will want you both to co-sign it because you'll be married at that point. If you can get away with just one of you co-signing it, personally, I am in favor of that. The only obviously that's a little bit muddy though because like if you how do I say this? Like, if only one of you is on the note, then and you decide, to break up or get divorced at any point, that can be a little bit muddy. But yeah. So like, you can use your spouse W-2 income. Just know that co-signing, like, if anyone were for any reason not to pay that note, you're both getting dinged, on the credit piece. So you don't see a lot of co-signers outside of immediate spouses for that reason.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So Alex, I want to rewind a little bit. So you talked about like basically the gold rush of lease arbitrage back in 2019.
It was.
And
it's a good way to describe it.
You had to pick what is going to be the next gold rush or what is the current gold rush. I know we briefly talked about glamping, and some other strategies. So what do you really think is that next gold rush?
Well, we've seen a lot of people's transition to subject to financing over the last couple of years. So that's probably what's going on currently. Um, I've seen a lot of resurgence in raps, and what's going on in the political atmosphere right now. There's a lot of Latinos that are leaving. So and then a lot of government employees are losing their jobs. So it's it's probably already is a buyer's market right now. So um, you're going to see a lot more creative offers that are getting accepted now. It's becoming a great time to buy. In Kansas City alone, property values went down about 10%. At least that's what the MLS stated, because of the number of government employees that have just lost their jobs and are selling their homes. So um, in times like this, buy and hold is great, absolutely great, because everyone needs a place to live. And if they're selling their home and they need a place to live, then they're going to be a renter. That's what they're going to be. So if you can find houses with creative financing, and you just got to make the offers to get these, and you have a margin to cash flow, you can put in tenants, and just regular buy and hold is going to be pretty good. Um, I am a fan of renting by the room, always have been. So if you are getting into real estate for the first time, this is probably going to be a better opportunity than it has in the more recent past, simply because um, more people are going to need a place to live. They're going to need affordable housing. And by renting by the room, you can get a lot more rent for one house. The only reason why more people don't rent by the room is because it's not really scalable. But you can get up to a few of them, 3, 4 of them easily. You just can't build a 200 unit business out of this. There are easier ways to do that. Like once you get big enough, you're just looking at apartments because it's easier. It's easier. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to have the hassle of managing this. So, but if you are by yourself, you're living in it, it's easy to manage. I don't want to give this impression that it's difficult. It's not. Like my life has not been full of difficult choices from a labor standpoint. Emotionally, absolutely. Like I've done what I call W2 resets 3 times, where I'll leave a job to sprint on my business, try to get as much done. Fortunately, I run out of money. I don't plan this, but I see the like, okay, I need to go get a job now. So I go get a job, and then I build up again financially. Then I do another sprint. I've done this 3 times over the last 8 years. W2 resets. Sometimes, like one of them was on the first house I bought. I had a balloon payment because it was seller finance, and I was like, "Well, shit, the balloon is." Sorry about that. The balloon's coming up
You're
in
good.
June. I see that the date's coming, getting closer and closer. I think it was February. It's like I need to start looking for a job because I need to get W2 income to refinance this property out. Otherwise, I'll lose the property.
Mhm.
Right in the nick of time, I get a job like I think around June 1st, with an old employer. Get the W2 income, refinance the house, get the house, right? So, um, not
Could
to
you
mention
explain
like,
balloon payment for those that don't know what that is?
so balloon payment is like I think they call it a balloon because like when you pop the balloon, like eh, you need to pay it off right away or something like that. So a balloon payment on a loan, like normally loans are like 30-year notes, right, for a house,
Mhm.
but you can do a 30-year note with a 5-year balloon, which means after then that 5 years, you need to pay off that loan in full. That's what that balloon means. So you can pay it like a normal 30-year loan, but after 5 years, I want all my money back on that loan. And you can go find another bank that gives you a new loan, and that bank will write a check to the old bank, or you can bring cash and pay them off. So what I did is I found another bank that was willing to write my seller 80 grand in that case, and this was a private note holder. So they sent a check to this guy for 80 grand, and then I started paying interest on the new note. So
What's the incentive? Like, what's the positive of getting the balloon, the balloon notes? or the balloon mortgage
Oh,
for
there's nothing
the
positive
buyer?
about it from a buyer standpoint, but from the
I was gonna
seller,
say it doesn't sound like there is.
he wasn't going to give me the house without a balloon, and I accepted his 2-year offer because I knew I can refinance.
Got you. Okay.
In
So you sound
multifamily, they're not gonna give you a multifamily carried to term. They're gonna give you either a 5, or if you have a ton of experience, they'll give you 7-year balloon, but they'll never go below 7 years.
As in seller financing?
No. That's commercial financing for
Mm.
multifamily. There is no such thing as a 20-year, or as a mortgage company that goes 20 years on multifamily. They will not do it. The reason
if you're
why
an
is because they're
investor,
not
not just
backed
a.
by the government.
Oh,
They have too much money at risk. They want all their money out. It forces the apartment complex owners to plan for that. So
so
like
then
every 5 to 7 years, you got to find a new bank to refinance that multifamily.
Now, what happens if you
wow.
can't find a bank?
You go to foreclosure.
Short story, you're boxed. If you can't find another bank, you're boxed.
So like it's interesting what's happening now because we had super low interest rates for so long, and we have these people that bought these multifamily. Their balloons are coming up, and if they refinance, they're going to go in triple interest scenarios. And multifamily, the values are calculated based on the net income instead of by comps with residential. So if your interest is triple what it was before, your net income is going to be lower. Therefore, the value is going to be lower. They might have to bring millions of dollars in some cases to the table just to refinance. And if they don't have that cash on hand, then they'll lose the property,
Wow.
which is what happened in 2008. So real estate values go down 30% on residential. Commercial had a hard time collecting rent. Net values went down. Banks called these notes due because they did bad loans too, and people just didn't have the cash for hundreds of properties. So many went to
And when is
foreclosure.
that next cycle coming, do you think?
I mean, nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal
Yeah.
ball. I mean, 2008 was a black swan event. We haven't seen real estate values go down 30% ever outside of that. Um, what am I trying to say here? Like, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But the risk of recession has gone up. I don't care what political spectrum you are. There's nothing political about the truth. These tariffs are not going to be good for the economy.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. So, and what that is doing is it's going to take cash out of consumers. Consumers are going to spend less on travel, unfortunately for me, and other things. And yeah, so that's going to put risk of default, risk of foreclosure, blah blah blah, all the above. And buy and hold should still be fine because people need to pay their rent. What they'll do is they'll move from more square footage to less square footage, and people will double up or something like that. So, but the risk of recession will be higher because these corporations are not going to make as much money. They're going to fire people because of that. Those people are unemployed, are going to get foreclosed and evicted, things like that. In the short term, that's going to cause uncertainty. People,
Look for room
financial
rentals.
institutions aren't going to lend as much, or they're going to be at higher interest rates. Costs are going up, income going down. That's what happens in a recession. So,
Yeah.
so nobody knows what's going to happen. I hear we're on a 90-day pause now, but yeah, there's nothing political about the truth. Like we are, this current administration and what they're doing has increased the risk of recession by a lot.
So going into a potential recession, would you say house hacking is still a recession-proof strategy right now?
Absolutely.
And do you think that's the only one, or are there other strategies that you think are
Well,
also pretty
house
recession-proof?
hacking is unique in the sense that if you move into it, this is where it's key to move into it in this case, right? It's not necessarily house hacking if you don't move into it. It's just buying and hold property, investment property.
Yeah.
But if you move into it and you eliminate your living expenses, the mortgage or rent, then you cannot lose.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You cannot lose under that circumstance because, like, even if you do not cash flow, you're saving whatever you would have been normally spending on that. 35% of your expense. That's a huge win. Huge win. And that is recession proof.
But on top of that as well, you're not only just eliminating the expense, you're also building equity in that house.
Which is why homeowners on average are 47 times more wealthy than renters.
There we go.
And then after how long, when would it be a strategic time to move out / maybe refinance the equity you've built to go purchase more properties? Is there like a threshold to go?
If you're living
do that,
there,
or?
I would refinance to a HELOC eventually. Then you can choose whether to tap into equity or not. I wouldn't do a loan in that case ever. You move out whenever that suits your personal life. Like how old are you?
I'm 23.
23. So I just recently got married, right? Maybe when you get married, you'll start thinking about moving out into an house and starting getting some more like lifestyle upgrades, right? But for right now, it's like you're like 10 years down the road for that. A minimum 5. So
you're talking. Well, see, now this is also you might notice about Graz and I, both believers, right? I'm currently in a relationship right now. No, that's gonna. And it's not my perspective earlier was like, oh yeah, I'll probably get married when I'm like 28. I'm 23 now, and
you're thinking about it, huh?
I'm thinking about it. So
that would be when you move out, when you cannot tolerate living with roommates anymore. But understand that is a lifestyle decision. That is not a logical or money-based decision.
See, so that's why duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes are more attractive to my mind because you still have privacy.
Correct, but so is everyone else. Everyone else is looking for those instead of the 5 or 6 bedroom houses, which are just as good, and you can get way cheaper because people are so emotional about this concept of privacy. That's just a fact. I'm just, I'm stating the facts. It's nothing political about facts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got trademark that one.
So, I live in a duplex now as well. I was renting rooms and I moved in a duplex. My now wife, as of 3 days ago, is moping around here.
You got married 3 days ago?
I did.
Let's go! Congratulations.
Very recent. We're still trying to invest and save money. I might give this impression that I make a lot of money, and full disclosure, I do. But I'm so focused on financial freedom that it's all being reinvested. So I drive a $5,000 car. We postponed the ceremonial wedding to next year, but we just saw no more need to postpone like the reality / legal side of the wedding. So my parents came up. We had 2 of our best friends come, and we got married. It's legit. We're married now. I didn't post anything on Facebook, and the reason why I decided not to do that, I'm okay talking about it, but I didn't post it on Facebook.
How did I not see it on any of your socials or anything?
And the decision not to put it on socials because I want everyone to come to the ceremonial wedding and not feel like they had missed out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're so happy. But yeah, I moved out into an actual duplex for that privacy as well. But I'd be lying to you if I said that it wasn't it's an emotional decision. It's not a financial decision. So now it doesn't take long. Like if you buy this roommate rental for a year, like the equity and the savings, like we're not talking about a little, we're talking about a lot. Like if your rent is $1,200, that's almost 15 grand a year. That is the next down payment. That's the next down payment. And that's if you don't cash flow. And almost all of these do cash flow. That doesn't even count the equity that you build up too. So like or the tax benefits. We're talking the reality is that like just by doing one of these, you would be pocketing or wealth building, one of the two, about 30 to 50K a year. That's what the renters are missing every single year.
Yeah.
To have roommates. That's I don't want to have roommates. it's too messy. I really want my own personal space. Do you want 30 to 50K more per year? Well, when you put
It's
it
just
that
going
way,
leaning into the friction. You just have to get the deal done,
so
figure out how to make it work, no matter what financial situation
babe,
you're in, even
babe,
if
we're
you make
talking about our house going and getting a job for us. That's
yeah.
what that is. 30 to 50K a
Mhm.
year.
And bringing it back to Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about making your money work for you. And what I think is so funny is that I read Rich Dad Poor Dad this past summer. I gave Justin Rich Dad Poor Dad back in October.
He talks
He
about
can't he
in that
can't get
book.
through it.
He
It's
talks
not like I
about in
can't
that
get through
book
it. I just haven't
the,
started
the
it.
key to getting wealthy is finding other people to pay for the things you want. He says that
Mhm.
over and over and over again. You find someone else to pay for the things you want. You want a house, you got to find someone else to pay for it. This isn't hard. This is very easy because so many people are unwilling to do it.
Mhm.
Unwilling to do it. You actually, I'm going to use my words carefully because I don't know what the conversations are happening in your life, but there are so many people that hear this and then they go back and they just acquiesce and they decide, you know what, this is just isn't for us. There, I would say 80% of people are on that track. The vast minority choose the path that I've taken. So many people do not do it for that reason. Like, to be very clear, like I'm going to use the word "you" for a moment. This because I sense some hesitation, but you can change this at any moment. So don't take this that I'm talking down on you or anything like that. But I'm
No,
just
rip into me,
you
please.
are part of the majority right now. There's nothing wrong with being a part of the majority. I'm the one that's crazy. But
Mhm.
is it worth it being crazy for a few years to be financially free for the rest of your life?
No. You're I would
That's the thing. That's like where like I might be part of the minority, but from my perspective, I think everybody else is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
it's going against the norm. And I mean, personally, me and Justin, now I know that you as well, we're all have that different mindset where we know that the mainstream is not the correct answer. The
Correct is
matrix
not the right
per
word.
se.
Correct is not the right word.
Mhm.
Mainstream is not the rich answer. It's not the
No,
wealth building answer. If you
it's
want
the
to build
It's
wealth,
the
you
easy
should
answer.
not be
average.
mainstream.
It's the
It's the
brain rot
average.
average answer.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
brain rot average answer.
It's
There's
true.
no right and wrong in this. Like if you wanna live in a duplex, fine. Who am I to say blah 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 blah? Obviously, great,
Mhm.
take it, right? Um, but I've seen people wait 5 years waiting for a right duplex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
You know, and if they had been making 50K a year for 5 years, that's
Yeah.
Just a straight
two hundred
fun
fifty thousand
ad,
dollars. That's what that is.
If
advocating just
I'm
that to purchasing real estate.
if
Groz, what were you
I'm
saying?
looking at a duplex in Illinois right now,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't live in it, I'm just looking to purchase it. Would you recommend that, or would you
Oh,
recommend more?
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. Like that's still. It's really hard to screw up buy and hold because if you
Mhm.
screw up, you just keep holding on to it.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll outlive the screw up. And the reason
Mhm.
why is because over time, rents go up, property appreciates. So, like, if you're negative cash flow because you screwed up, if you wait long enough, eventually you will be positive cash flow.
And I think some of the hesitation that people have towards like going into an investment property is they're like, oh, it's negative cash flow. But when you think about it, you're still the negative cash flow is going into building equity in the property.
I'm not an
You're
advocate for negative cash flow. You
well,
should be
of
getting
course,
positive cash flow
of
every
course,
time on new deals. So that needs to be your parameter for success, right?
definitely.
But it's the most forgiving out of all the strategies. Fix and
Mhm.
flip, risky, risky. I don't like fix and flip. Um, even the most experienced fix and flippers, 1 out of 20 homes will be a total dud where they lose money.
Mm. And why is that?
Mistakes. We're all human.
Just like miscalculation of the ARV or something like that?
It's not going to be that. It's going to be like unforeseen stuff. Like,
Mm.
for instance, one of my partners, he had a sewer line break, and he didn't have the insurance to cover the sewer lines.
Mm.
That was $30,000, not calculated for, right? If you're trying to flip that property and that's your profit margin, guess what? Boom, you don't have a profit margin. That was a fix and flip.
Mm.
If it was a buy and hold, all right, let's short-term rent it for a few years, make the money back, sell it later. That's how that works out. Yeah. So in my opinion, I think everyone's first deal should be a buy and hold, even if they want to sell it, because and the benefit if you claim it as your primary residence, and I'm not an attorney, like I don't believe in lying, but if you are a renter and you're buying a house and you live within 50 miles of it, oh man, what's the risk? What's the risk, really? Like, make your payments. No one's gonna come after you. Pick up your mail there. So, but there's a homeowner's exemption. So if you sell that property, you have to live there. I think 2 years. 2 years. Yeah, two. You have to live in there 2 years out of the last 5, and then you're exempt capital gains. So just plan a 2-year flip.
Is that only for a FHA house, or is that all?
It has to be a primary residence, not FHA. You have to claim it as your primary residence.
But you're saying they're not going to do their due diligence, no pun intended. As long as you live within 50 miles of that.
I'm not an attorney. Please don't take this as legal advice. But
yes.
So here's the fear. On the other side of it, like let's say you claim it as a primary residence and you don't actually live there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you stop paying the mortgage. The bank, because if you don't live there, what the bank does, FHA loans require you to live there. They give you less money down. They give you like 1 to 3% down payment, opposed to 15-20% if it's non-owner occupied, right? They could claim that you lied to the bank financial institution for the purpose of financial gain, which in other words is called bank fraud, and that you could be sent to jail for that.
Yeah, so not so good. Don't do that. Don't get caught.
Yes.
But what I'm trying to say is that, like, if someone was renting, bought the home to become their primary residence, had every intention to move in, but for whatever reason it just didn't work out, those people are not getting sent to jail too. It's like a hard argument to win. And that would only happen if you fall behind on the payments. So if you start falling behind the payments, just move in very fast. Okay. So, like, and the bank would have to lose money. So, like, if you start falling behind on payments and you sold and you paid the bank off, then you don't have to worry either. I think, personally, now I'm not an attorney, but I think people get afraid of this and they end up not doing it. This is just an easy pickup. And the thing is, you're allowed to move too. Like, if you live there and then you moved, you have not defrauded the bank. So, like, I moved to Illinois, bought a property with FMAV loan, lost my job, moved back. This was like 2022, 2023. I did not defraud the bank. They're not sending me to jail if I fall behind these payments, which I'm not. This duplex got another duplex. I got lucky with duplexes. So I don't even look for the duplex. They come to me. It's weird. So not to make anyone feel bad here. I have 4 of them now.
I'm just gonna stand in the corner after this. I want duplexes to come to me. Oh my goodness.
This duplex is killing it now. Oh my gosh. I had it short term for a minute, but it had well water and it just became a nightmare short term. So we turned it into long term. Multiple exit strategies. We got one side is a 3-2. They're paying $2,100. The other side is a 2-1. They're paying $1,600. And the mortgage is $2,000.
$1,700 cash flow a month.
So I have some other expenses, but it's safe to say I'm getting $1,000 cash flow on a duplex, which is unheard of. Unheard of. You're doing great if you get $400 cash flow.
Yeah. All right. Wait, Alex, after sometime this weekend or maybe Monday, I'm gonna shoot you a text with some information about a duplex, and I want your advice on how to get a down payment for it.
Okay.
All right,
Getting
cool.
a nice little group chat going. We'll be shooting some questions in there. But Alex, this has been incredible wisdom, man. You can just tell when someone's. What are you saying, Aiden?
I was gonna say before we end it, I need to ask a crazy question, but Moran, keep on going with your inspirational thought.
Oh, I was just saying you can tell when someone's seasoned in an industry, an idea, a subject, and
We didn't even talk about short term.
Exactly.
An hour flew by.
Exactly. So of course we can touch on that now or later. Of course,
Later.
always time to come back on the pod in the future, especially after, because I mean we're in, what month is it? It's April now. The real estate environment could look completely different in 3 months from now. Right.
Absolutely.
And some of the stuff you're talking about could have came to fruition, could have taken a left or right. And so it'll be really cool to see how things have changed. And then some plays that Laura Willing, Graz, and I have made in the real estate space, and we can touch base and compare apples to apples. But yeah, Graz got some crazy questions. We'd love to hear from you.
I have one crazy question that I want to ask you, but going off next time you're on the pod, I'd love to have you and Randall on the podcast at the same time, so you guys just like flow back and forth. That would be fun.
Randall makes me look bad because he's so smart.
Seriously? No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I have to see it in action.
I'm kidding, but like he is a wizard, man. I listen to him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys talking in the Discord, sometimes I'll just like scroll in the Discord, just soaking in the knowledge if ever, like when possible.
Oh yeah.
But the question that we have today for you is, if you were in a street fight and you had to pick one condiment to protect you,
like ketchup?
what are you picking? Yeah. Yep. Just like the overall vibe that you get from that condiment.
I would think mustard is gotta hurt. Or no, the chili sauce. We'll get we'll get like the little green ones, like the little bottles. Yeah,
Tabasco?
right in the eyes. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't think anyone could logically beat that argument. Like, what would possibly be better than that sauce? Like, oh my god, I got it, the pepper spot in my eyes.
It's funny, when I originally came up with that question, I don't know why, but I imagined a life-sized ketchup bottle coming out and like beating someone up for you. But I think you took the more logical approach.
Yeah.
I like the way you took that. I think the chili sauce is a good one. Tabasco or like red
Tabasco.
hot.
Yeah, it's the green Tabasco sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green or red?
I think the green one would be better. But yeah.
Ghost pepper hot sauce? That would be crazy.
Oh my god, I'll just blind you.
That would be wild.
Yeah, it'd be like a cobra spitting in your eyes.
Crazy random fact. Now you're talking about animals. Today I found out that a hyena's bite strength is more than a lion's.
Yeah.
A hyena.
I think it's the strongest in the terrestrial. Well,
number
other than the crocodile. I think the crocodile is number one.
It's crocodile. It's gorilla next, like 1,300 psi, and then at like 1,100, it's a hyena. I'm like a little hyena can chew my bones up, and then their stomach acid's also the strongest. So that's why, like, if you see it kill a zebra, it will eat the entire thing. And I'm like, dude, I like don't want to go to Africa anymore. You run a little hyena. Oh my gosh!
Where did you get this information from?
Actually, it was funny. The guy who
I actually saw an episode. I Shouldn't Be Alive. And the guy crashed his like prop plane, and he was talking about like from his memory, like, I just hope I don't find a hyena. Like, lion, cheetah, don't care. But when the hyenas come out, I'm like, he was afraid of it for that reason.
Dude,
but he survived.
Savage.
It was so funny. The guy, one of my partners who is closing with the real estate. Invest for 125 grand a year into a policy is the one who just has National Geographic in the back of his head. It was just, I have no idea how the conversation came up, but I was so fascinated by it.
He just has David Attenborough ingrained in his brain.
Yeah.
Not a bad voice to have ingrained in your brain. All
That's
right.
so insane.
Well, I think that does it for today. Alex, thank you again. It's absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast, and definitely look forward to keeping in touch with you and maybe have you back on the podcast sometime soon.
Appreciate you guys inviting me out.
Best of luck with all your
Good
real
luck.
estate endeavors.
You too,
Yes,
guys.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. God bless.